tools, buttons, a bit of fun. Then, somewhere along the way, the big platforms moved in. Last year, $200 billion flowed upwards, away from the people who actually play. This year, they take it back. YOM, where players play games straight from your PC, not a data center in Virginia. Meet Tyler Pemberton. Yes, this looks dramatic, but he's perfectly fine. Tyler's offline. His PC isn't. 47 players streaming from his GPU right now. Even AFK, Tyler's rig is pulling its weight. He's making money in his sleep. Maybe this is what happens when gamers finally take control of their own world. Turn your idle GPU into passive income. YOM.net. Eat, sleep, earn, repeat.
Good evening, everybody. How's everyone doing today? Oh, let me clear my throat. I'm a bit froggy. Hey, it's good to see everybody again, and welcome to the podcast or the broadcast. So a lot of stories going on today, and I want to cover a fair amount. There's kind of a big, broad arc. But first of all, welcome. If you haven't found me yet, or you don't know who I am, I'm Jeff Outlaw, the COO at YOM. So YOM is a decentralized cloud gaming network, or even more than that. We are an on-the-edge GPU compute network. And as the title says, we can say we're the fastest network in the entire world. It's a bold claim. And I'm going to go into why we can say that and why we're different and who are we up against, who are we competing with, like who would be in the race for the world's fastest network, and why do we say that we've got that title? And we're also going to go into the big issues with data centers. So we talk oftentimes about, how we're so different from the data center and the hyperscalers. And we touched on all the issues that they cause, but I want to go into more depth today about why is it such a big deal, and what's the knock-on effects that we're seeing. There's been so many articles about why data centers are being pushed back against. Public is really saying, hey, we don't want these. New York has, I think, recently said that they're not going to even allow data centers to be built in their state for a little while. They put a moratorium or a hold on all new construction. That's a big deal, right? With an entire state, the entirety of New York State is saying they're not going to let that happen any longer. But so, what's the alternative, and why are we different? We're going to go through all that stuff today. But let me start with a little bit of house cleaning with the crew. So let's see. Let's do this right here. So the boys are over at Dev Brighton. There they are. Let me swap sides here. Andy and John are our biz dev team, and they're over at Dev Brighton. They're looking at. Is it going to let me do this? It's a big show. No, it's not going to let me do this. So it's a big show, and they're going to. They've got meetings lined up. I think tomorrow is when it all kicks off. Today is Wednesday. No, it kicked off today. So today was a whole big series of meetings, and I think it goes all the way to Friday. No, actually, I got that wrong. It started yesterday and it ends tomorrow. But a lot of meetings lined up. These guys, I'm sure we'll get a full report. I'd probably like to have either John or Andy or both show up at a town hall here in the next couple of days, so they can kind of spill the beans or spill the tea, as they say, about what went on. Here's some of the list of some of the sponsors, so you can again see how big of an event this is. Dev Brighton is kind of like the gear up for Gamescom. So they do this, and then Gamescom happens at the end of August. But you'll see that Sony was there, and I think we were there, hosted by Yuki, the UK organization that works with us and the gaming team. We're a member there with Yuki. So big deal. And I don't have any details. Andy's been very busy and hasn't really kind of checked in to tell me what he's been up to. but I'd like to get 2 of them onto the program probably the next couple of days. Let's get into the beefy part of tonight's show because there is so much to go over. And we have questions. Thanks to Wally05 has again filled me up with questions. So we'll get to those as well. But let's start with this. This article. No, that one. This one. No, not that one either. This one here. Here we go. Let me share the screen. You guys can see what I'm looking at. So this article came up. It's from SDX Central. They talked about, and it was a funny thing because of what they were talking about here. They set you up in a way that doesn't let you see the whole truth. So I'm going to talk about the whole truth. So the article talks about hyperscalers versus neoclouds. So in hyperscalers, in this terminology, what it's saying is, the Amazons and the Googles with their massive data centers that have they try to do any kind of compute or data storage at these data centers. So they're called hyperscalers, and they're large and they're expensive to build. And we're going to get into what's going on with Facebook and theirs, one of the ones that they're building. So that's what, when you say hyperscalers, we're talking about these very, very large. And there's a lot of investment that's going into hyperscalers right now because of the AI surge. Hyperscalers have got a lot of the attention from both the press and the investors, but they're also finding out that these hyperscalers are getting, or the AI versions of these are massively not profitable. What would you call that? They're burning money. The alternatives to those are the neoclouds. So neoclouds are same thing. They're still a big data center, big building that's being built, but they're specifically focused on a single niche. So AI has all their clouds, and some of these examples were. Hold on, let me get my notes up here. Some of the examples would be CoreWeave or Lambda Labs. They're more agile, right? They can do, because they're specialized in a certain range of what a data center might be used for. They can be specialized, and in that way, they're a little bit better than those massive hyperscalers. But the hyperscalers, they have their use cases as well. But this article is pitting one against the other. It's saying that, who's going to win, the neoclouds or the hyperscalers? Neoclouds or hyperscalers? But again, that's a false choice. What they are not taking into account is edge networks like ours. And the reason probably why they're not doing it is because there's not very many of us out there, and only a few of us have launched and been successful, like YOM has been. So I'm going to go through we could have said. I said the world's fastest network at the outset. That's what I'm titling this whole video. But honestly, we could have said the cleanest network. We could have said the most scalable. We could have said the most efficient, because we're all of those things especially when you compare us to data centers, right? With the data center model, they're building a big building. They're disrupting the local environment. They're dragging the cost of the energy for the local area up. They're using the water tables locally to cool, and that's either draining the water base, or it's causing the price for water to go up for people who live close by these new data centers. And this is the reason why there's all this pushback from all these different people, all these different communities. The decentralized model, where we're different, right, is we are saying people who have a GPU at home in their gaming rig, they can put their gaming rig on our network, and when they're not using it, which is generally about 80% of the time, that GPU, when meshed together with the rest of our network, becomes the whole mesh, right? Becomes that on the edge compute GPU network. That's really, really important for on-demand, very quick, like low latency compute. This is the kind of thing that gaming is very essential for gaming, right? You want on the edge like that, you have to be very fast, because when you hit the fire button, you want the game to fire. So, but there are other use cases as well, and this is what we're discovering. This is why we feel like we're going to either add on to or replace the hyperscalers and the neoclouds, because for things like robotics or things like very quick time calculations, the only way for them to happen very, very fast is to happen on the edge, which is again the network that we've built. So when you see articles like this, or when you hear talk about hyperscalers and then now talk about hyperclouds, kind of recognize that those are not the only two choices, and they're not the only two choices. YOM or edge compute is really going to be the replacement. Again, the way that our general thesis is that we'll get added on to these systems, but then eventually overwhelm them and replace them. And for people who have a GPU sitting at home, a gaming rig, who want to get paid for letting us use their rig, putting their rig on the network and getting paid out for the compute. This is just the best system. Again, we start with gaming because gaming is one of the hardest use cases, and it's the easiest to prove how fast you are and how important that speed is. But there are other use cases already that we're getting loaded up with. So, again, so that was the basis of the whole conversation tonight. I saw this article. I was like, we have to talk about this because it's not that choice between hyperscalers and neoclouds is just not the only choice. But in researching all this, I kind of went out to find out like what else is going on in the data center space, and this is crazy. So Meta has been building in Louisiana in the USA their own data center, and what they're saying now is they originally had planned on spending just so much, but they added another $40 billion to the cost, and so now it's ballooned up to $250 billion to build this one data center. Now it probably won't be a single building; it'll be a whole complex. But regardless, having this is like hyperscaler on steroids. This is a very big complex, but $250 billion. I'm like, to my mind, it's got to be a better way to spend $250 billion, especially because the replacement is right there with all these computers on the edge. By doing the calculations, we kind of figured out that with this kind of money, they could actually they could actually buy 166 million top of the line gaming PCs and hand them out to like every citizen in the United States and in Canada, and still have like 25 million to hand out someplace else. So instead of concentrating all the compute power in one spot and then draining the water table, which is a big part of this article talks about what this is doing to the water. People who are complaining about, hey, what's this going to do to our water bill, or how's it going to affect the water usage in our area? And they even having to build energy, I think it's natural gas energy plants just to power this thing. But honestly, again, buy everyone a computer, put them all around the world, all around the country, North America, and you could get that same kind of compute power. It's all distributed. That's again what we're the YOM model. I don't know. They're not going to do that, right? They're not going to give 250 billion. They're not going to buy $166 million top of the end PCs to hand out. So what other things could be done? They actually $250 billion in today's dollars is equal to about the Apollo space program, like going to the moon, if you believe that people went to the moon. Anyway, I don't even do all that stuff. I think Elon Musk paid $44 billion for Twitter back when he bought it, and even that was considered to be oversized. So again, you could have bought Twitter 5 times, 6 times, 6 times. It's crazy. $250 billion is equal to the gross national GDP of New Zealand or Greece or Hungary. They're spending the amount of money that a country spends just to build a single data center that, again, you could call it a single bottleneck, right? They're spending $250 billion to build a single bottleneck for data transfer in this one location in Louisiana. So it's a massive. This is just one example of what's going on with the data center build out and the problems that hyperscalers are having, and the reason why people are pushing back on them. What are they saying? This data center is slated to consume as much energy in a single day that the entire city of New Orleans spends on a hot summer day, which is just a massive amount of energy that they're draining. Then that article led me to, let's see if I can bring that up. And this, by the way, was Bloomberg, so it's not like I'm cherry picking sources here. This is all this data is coming from pretty high powered places. The Zero Hedge had this article about the energy use or the concerns that the power grid's having. So the largest U.S. power grid, which is, again, services New York. Not New York. I'm sorry. New Jersey, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Maryland, Ohio, some parts of Kentucky. They're saying that this is the largest shortfall that they've ever had. Like they can't guarantee energy use by the largest amount that they've ever been worried about, because the data center boom. Again, this is these data centers are massively damaging, and it kind of the fragility of the system when you rely on these centralized database data centers that, again, YOM is sought to replace with our technology. So let me get down to here. So again, why are we saying we can be the fastest network? Well, again, we're at the source of that the compute is needed to be at. We're right there. What our orchestrator does is it finds when a person goes online to play a game, it finds the closest nano operator in that area and pulls the work from their GPU and streams the game to the player. And that person, again, who's put their GPU up on our network is getting paid for every minute that their GPU is being used. It's an automated system. This is the kind of the benefits of some of the new technology that's out there. But to build this mesh network the way that we've built it, it couldn't have been done 5 or 6 years ago. But everyone kind of recognized that the cloud was going to become important, say 10 years ago. But the technology for it, the infrastructure for it, keeps on growing and growing, which kind of led me to this last article I'm going to bring up. So, research firm in India, they're pretty well known. The Ken Research, here we go. They looked at cloud gaming and did another big report. Now, I haven't got the full report yet, but I'm going to be, I'm working on getting the entire report. Let me change my view here. So let me do this so you can see it a little bit closer. So again, they're talking about cloud gaming reaching the $3.8 billion milestone, which is, again, massive. And everyone knows that cloud gaming is going to replace. Now, in India, especially important, not enough people have those high-powered rigs, but everyone wants to play games. So there are already a lot of streaming opportunities that's happening in India. But again, they're running into the same problem that every place else is in the world, that ability to build and then maintain massive data centers just doesn't satisfy the need for things like really fast reactive time. You want to be close by for latency reasons. You got to be close by to the end user, and you can't have everyone trying to stream from through the same pipe out of a data center. This is what we mean by the world's most expensive bottleneck. But the article goes on to talk about what all the different, for investors, if you're interested in the cloud gaming sector and investing in there, what kind of things should you pay attention to? And right down here, it talks about the new technology, the critical infrastructure and technology developments, the edge network deployment being the big piece of the puzzle that is only just now up and coming. So we expect that the report supports a lot of the theses, I guess, that we have here at YOM, that edge compute is where games themselves are going to get a lot of their benefits, but then also uses for AI at the edge, where reactive time and latency is the biggest concern. So I'll get the full report from Ken Research and go deeply into the what they're saying about the edge network technology and why it's so important. But I imagine it just mirrors everything that we're saying as well. But I'd be curious to see how what kind of words they use when they talk about it. That is the big report. That is a big deep dive into the data centers again. But I've only really touched on the one that Meta is building in Louisiana. I could have pulled up 50 more articles. Well, that's an exaggeration. But there were at least 15 in my inbox that I saw that were talking about how the local public is pushing back on the idea of building a big data center and watching their energy costs and their water bills just soar. So we want to make sure that people find out about the alternative that's not a neoscaler, a neocloud, but instead a distributed cloud, which is really the technology that we're offering. All right, so let's open up. I did have a stack of questions. Again, I want to make sure that I get them and give them. I don't want to. Some of them I'm not gonna be able to answer fully, but let me go through these questions from the community, because this is, after all, an AMA. So I want to make sure that I give these. And if you're curious, if you want to ask a question, right? Because we do these town halls every Wednesday night and Friday afternoon, Eastern Standard Time. So at 7 p.m. on Wednesday night Eastern Time, which is, I think, 11 UTC. And then on Fridays, I go again at noon Eastern Standard Time, which I think is 5 UTC. Check me on that. I know it's 6 in Central European Time. And on Wednesday nights, I generally talk about the industry. And on Friday, I do more of the project updates. So I'll have more project updates. And again, this Friday, I'll see if I can't get Andy and John to come in and sit down and tell us what they discovered at Dev Brighton. So if you have questions that you want to ask into any one of those town halls, go to our Discord, join our Discord, and there is a channel for community questions or AMA questions. You can drop them right in there. That's what Wally's been doing. Happy to take them. Also, you could just give them to a mod, and the mod will try to either filter them all and bring them to us, or they may be able to answer them right away. We've got a really good mod team who are doing a good job of helping out the community. And before I forget, if you are curious about the idea of having your GPU at home, your own gaming rig, earn you passive income when you're at sleep or at night, or if you're out working during the day, and you're not sure, like, is it going to be worth it? We have built an app. It's at app.yom.net/rig-check. If you run that rig check, it'll test run it on the system that you're planning on putting on the network. It'll tell you if you've got all the right equipment, what kind of speed you could get. It'll give you an estimate depending on how many hours a day you want to let your system run onto our network and how many days a month that would be. It'll give you an estimate about how much you'd be earning in income, because the higher your GPU, the more concurrent game streams your system can host. So obviously, the more streams that you host concurrently, the more your revenue would be. But it's going to vary from area to area. Like in certain regions of the world, there'd be a massive demand for cloud gaming. So you'll have a bigger surge there. You get more likely to have all your streams filled up. The larger percentage of your online time. So there are variables in there. It's just an estimate, but it gives you a good sense of how much you might be earning. So again, that's app.yom.net/rig-check, and test your system out there. Let's get to some of these questions. So for Molly, again, looking at the next 6 months, what's a single milestone that would make you say this proves network is working exactly as intended? Well, it kind of already is working exactly as intended. I mean, we talked about it before. We had a one person stream a game, so 450 kilometers. They streamed at less than 7 milliseconds for 45 minutes. I mean, that's a massive win already. That just shows that our network is built for both low latency and even a long distance connection for a long period of time. And I think if it's single milestone is probably not, there probably is no one single milestone. The network is already working as intended. Its next question is, how do we get the scale to grow to the level that we need to have? But this is, again, a question more about how do we get all the regions of the world to adopt the system? How do we get the word out there that people can earn passive income with their rig? So I think what I'd like to see is the map that we have of the network just grab more and more green dots as more and more nodes come online. So that would, to me, would be the milestone I'm looking for. When we say we get like a 60 or 80 running concurrently, I'd feel pretty happy. So, but I don't know. We don't really even need that many. It's all a matter of balancing the amount of active nodes with the amount of traffic that we're grabbing in. Question number 2, what's the current biggest bottleneck to scaling the network? I led right into my own answers from the last one. Is it attracting more gamers, increasing player demand, or expanding node capacity? Which of these has the team's highest priority over the next 6 to 12 months? Kind of all of them have our attention, or which one's the highest priority, and I'm not sure if it's just those 3. Attracting more games, increasing player demand, or expanding node capacity. I think it's kind of it's not even a bottleneck. Well, again, we're trying to keep the demand and supply in equal measure, right? As we put more nodes on the network, we increase the demand. As we increase the demand, we have more publishers coming online or more use cases for the edge compute. Then we want to make sure that we bring on enough nodes, because we don't want either side. We don't want the node operators to not earn a decent amount of money from their node operation, and we don't want the publishers and developers to be like, "Hey, we're not getting enough GPU power from you." Now we've got other ways to scale and to grow that go beyond even getting nanos out there. The nanos are the important starting piece, but there are other ways for us to also pick up the load. So I guess. Oh, I'm probably dancing around an answer because I don't know if there's any one big bottleneck. Most of it is just a matter of being patient and having the technology reach out there and having the understanding of what I guess that's what I'd say the biggest bottleneck is. There are plenty of people who do understand that what a decentralized cloud is, but there's still not a lot of investor understanding of hyperscalers and even neoclouds not really solving the problem that the edge network is what's really going to solve the problem. Again, the edge network, the type that we've built. So getting that awareness out into the community, I think, is the biggest. If there's a single bottleneck, that would be the biggest bottleneck that I've looked to solve. And our community is a big part of that, right? I think it would help us out a lot as the community starts talking about, hey, it's not hyperscalers; they're too expensive and like ridiculous. I think the GPU hour costs at the low end, and it goes up from here, but like $2 for a GPU hour at these hyperscalers, and $2 per hour is just way too expensive for a gamer or for a cloud gaming system, or really even much of the need for an edge compute can handle. $2 is just ridiculous. We're down somewhere like 15 cents. So it's not just a little bit better; it's a lot better. And again, all the other cost savings and the scalability issues and the environmental issues and the latency superiority that we have. All those reasons, I think, it's important for our community to help spread that word that the hyperscaler model is not going to scale correctly. It's going to eventually fall over due to its own weight. And the edge network, the edge computes, is going to be where everyone ought to be paying attention. Question number 3. YOM clearly has the technical advantage over centralized cloud providers. Well, thank you, Wally. I appreciate that. What do you see as the biggest obstacles to enterprise adoption today? Technology, commercial partnerships, or customer trust? I think it's, again, I go to awareness. Awareness is the big thing. And we're starting to see it now. Again, this article from Ken Reports is another, did I say that right? Yeah, this article from Ken Research is starting to, leading the way or starting to get that terminology out there. It's an edge network, dummy. You don't want to be centralized. You want to be at the edge for the best speed and the best efficiency. So I think that to my mind, that is the biggest obstacle to enterprise adoption. But we're making inroads every day, and people are in more articles like this are going to help out. As a matter of fact, I'll probably take all the information that I gathered for this town hall today, put it into an article, and help kind of fuel that pump, probably on LinkedIn and other places. We can get that information out. Many people now understand why YOM technology is different. I'm not sure that I agree with your starting statement, Wally. I don't know that many people understand. You might be right. There probably are a lot of people who understand that our technology is different. What do you think is the current biggest misconception investors still have about YOM? And what should they be paying attention to instead? So, if you follow the history of YOM, the company that was the original YOM company, which is they were building metaverse spaces, but this is back in the metaverse boom in 2021. They came apart, I guess. I don't know how you want to say it. They didn't succeed, but that was a tough business to get into at that point. The current company, myself included, we purchased the technology, we purchased the brand, and restarted YOM. So I think there's still some information out there. If you type into some of the AI programs, I think we've done a lot to clean this up, but you type in some of the AI programs, it still sees like the old version of YOM with the different company that was run by different people. So I think that doesn't help us. And again, that's why we did so much work to clear that up. And then the other part of it is people thinking that we can only host cloud gaming. It's true that we're built for cloud gaming, or that's where we started our starting point, because again, it's the hardest problem to solve. It's the best test case for a very fast and efficient edge network. But I think the investors, when they realize that, hey, we are doing other things, including AI at the edge and all those other compute possibilities for our edge network. I think that is also a misconception, but that's probably because we ourselves have talked so much about gaming. It's part of the reason why the split into Walter GG, Walter GG been some project that's built on the foundation of the YOM technology, so that we can get the gaming side away and people can talk more about the idea of an edge network that competes against and then trounces hyperscalers and neoclouds. So I think that might. I hope that answers your question. Well, you can tell me if I didn't, because I'm sure you'll let me know. He's one of these stellar community members who asks smart questions, follows up, he does a summary report of these town halls into the community chat. So I think everybody ought to give a hat tip to Wally. He's been doing an awesome job, and we appreciate his work. Let's make sure that other people kind of maybe compete with Wally. I mean, see if you can unseat him as the star of the community these days. That is the town hall for tonight. I don't think let me. I'll open up the chat, see if there's any questions from the on the live chat. Nope, doesn't seem to be. Maybe I covered it all. That's again a good starting point for what we're talking about. When we say when you hear the term hyperscalers and you hear the term neoclouds, know what they're talking about. They're talking about really the same technology. It's still a big database. It's still a big building that they're building and having to power and disrupt the local economies and disrupt the local environments. It's just that the hyperscalers do a large range of cloud services, including data storage and that kind of thing. And then the neo clouds are doing a smaller, a small subset. They're more focused version. Regardless, they're both in a centralized data center. And again, the edge network, the edge compute network that we've built is a very different model because it's powered by local GPUs all around the world, and they're all strung together through our orchestrator. And I don't want to leave out instead of giving all of our money to a Google or an Amazon, we're able to take revenue and give it to local communities through the people who are actually operating a node in their local community. So decentralized revenue is a part of our DNA. All right, sweet guys. That was 30 minutes. That's about what we generally try to do on a Wednesday night. And I'm gonna go. Sorry about England, but kind of happy for Argentina. I'd like to see. This is going to be a really good match. I'm kind of looking forward to the idea of Argentina and Spain going at it. Would like to see. This is so, and also I guess the third place race, but that should be a pretty good game too, right? France and England going at it, kind of like all European battle royale. So those will be some good World Cup matches if you're a soccer fan, which I know that much of our audience is. All right, so I'll sign off. Be good to yourself. Be good to other people, the people around you. Tell someone that you love them. Go outside and touch some grass. Drink lots of water. Right. Treat your body well. Like get some good nutrition. Get lots of sleep. Go out and look at the stars at night. Pay attention to your place in the universe and play a part of that. And then play a part of our ecosystem too, because I think that we're doing something pretty special here. Thanks again, guys. Tune in Friday at noon Eastern Standard Time. We'll do more project updates. I'll see if I can get Andy and John to come on and talk about Dev Brighton and what they discovered at that gaming conference. Cheers, everybody.